So
That was elementary.
just a reminder, Member Beninda, we had to cut $22 million last school year,
Yes.
right? So we have to make choices, and in leadership, whether that's as the governing body or the administration, you have to decide what is the actual need, and can we develop people so that we don't need additional bodies, because there's not a sustainability if we keep adding more bodies to our schools when we don't have a regular revenue source to do that. So we have to make tough decisions. I'm very proud of the work that our educators are doing with less. And when we look at our data, whether we've had more people or less people, it's been flat. This is actually the first year where we're actually starting to see a small, although minimal increment, but we're starting to see growth. So hear what you're saying. I'm not sure that that is what the data is showing is needed. I'm not sure that's what the educators are saying. And when we think about systems improvement, people development is extremely important. And I did hear you say that we need to keep working on developing our staff, which is what we are investing in. This year, we had hoped to start our school year with that model of an outside classroom for our hub, out of the classroom teacher at each one of our hubs for the SAIL program. We couldn't do that. Kelly, I don't think you got pulled until maybe January. Correct. So because we didn't have staff yet. We also needed staff for the paraprofessionals. We're so much better in our staffing now. Now we finally have those 4 teachers out of the classroom. This is a very new model, but I want to just caution that the answer isn't always adding another person, because then we can't sustain it. We don't have a revenue source. We want to be sure that those who are in front of our youth have everything that they need. And I heard you say they need some curriculum. Absolutely, we can work on that. Those are one-time funding needs rather than an ongoing, that one year we can afford and the next year we might not be able to afford. So we want to keep as much consistency as possible. When it comes to the 30-2 model that we put in place this last school year for the inclusion settings, we specifically looked at our elementary settings. Our secondary, it's the elementary that have said, this may not be working, you need to be looking more at grids versus ratio. So we're looking at that. But we didn't hear that from our secondary as much as we heard it from elementary. But we're looking at overall minutes to make sure that this works, and if we need to decrease the ratio, then we will. But there was no ratio before. There was no ratio. There were some teachers that had a caseload that was up to, what was the number? I think 45? And some who were at much smaller caseloads of like 16, and yet earning, and they don't know that's what's going on throughout the district, but they are getting paid the same exact amount. So we put models in place, and then, which is the system, and then we can monitor it to see if it's working. And so there are some areas that we need to work on. The special ed department is already taking a look at the grids. Do we need to make some recommendations for additional staff? But I want to caution us that if we keep only thinking that the answer is additional people and not development without a revenue source, then the district will constantly be in flux. And that is not in the best interest of the organization.